Okay. Wow. Several things I want you to see and to look at, but to start out with, and I want you to go with me to Galatians. This is something that I have been chewing on, mulling over and over for quite some time. Galatians chapter 4. Just to look at a verse, and or two verses maybe in this fourth chapter. Matter of fact, this chapter, Galatians chapter 4, the word son is used more in this chapter than in any other chapter or book in the New Testament. The Greek word huios. Now, of course, when you read this and you read the word son in this chapter, sometimes the word son is a small s, and sometimes the word son is a capital S. So we are automatically trained through religion, when we see a capital S, to think of someone in particular. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
And who would that be?
Jesus.
Jesus, of course it would be Jesus. But that's not what it means. The word son is huios, and actually it means a child, and a child can be a boy or a girl, which is consistent with the ancient Hebrew, which when the Hebrew does that, it does exactly the same thing. Like when it uses the word bar, B-A-R, it's generally always translated as son, but it actually means a child. And as it being a child, it just simply means the pattern of the human race. Because that's what a child is. A baby is built in the womb of a woman, still not known how by medical science. They haven't got a clue how it works. Now, they have a clue about a lot of the parts that are put there. They don't have a clue how it's formed. How is that? How are we built? Well, we are miraculously built and mysteriously built in the womb without the sound of anything. No saw, no hammer, and we are the true temple of God. Now that's everybody. So when you're born as the temple, the son, male or female. So when we read this word, we don't understand it. Why? Because we just lack certain information that if we get that proper information, we can cross the dots, and we can then begin to see how to build a sentence or a clear thought. Otherwise, we think under the seduction of religion. I start to say Christianity, which has become and is a religion. A religion based off of what I would call false religion, because true religion is not built off of belief systems, okay? But that's what religion has become. It's become a system of beliefs. In other words, I believe this, da-da-da-da. So we're taught that. Okay. So in this passage, and I want you to see that a couple of verses here. Verse 3. So even we, verse 3, Galatians 4:3. So even so we, when we were children, were in bondage under the elements of the world. Under the elements of the world. We were in bondage. And then look at verse 25. Come down to verse 25. This is talking about Abraham and Sarai and Hagar. And all of you are familiar with that, so I don't have to go into a lot of explaining that. Those are just Old Testament allegories. And he says that that's what they are. He said Abraham, the story of Abraham is an allegory. So that means it's not a history. So now you have to really think. That's the one thing that we have to learn to do, is think. We don't just come and not think. We have to learn to think. If Abraham is an allegory, not a history, then you have to look at the domino effect backwards. If Abraham is an allegory and he's not a history, then he's not historically the lineage of Moses, or of the lineage of Noah, or the lineage of Adam and Eve. You have to think about that. Because if you make Abraham a history based off those other characters, then you have really missed everything that those characters are about and what they're referred to. And so, when we read this in verse, remember we're in bondage to the elements of the world. I want to try to make that as clear as I can, so that if we can really make that clear, cross these dots, then it will begin to make sense. Some of the things that happens to us. Right now, many things that happens to us, we think we got caught blindsided. Why did that happen to me? That shouldn't have happened to me. It did. It does. These things happen to all of us, and we can figure that out. All of the ancient allegories were filled with the truth of why these things happen. Once we see that, we realize there's nothing wrong with me. I'm under something that I'm designed to be over. And that's the difference. I'm designed to be over it, but here I am under it. I'm designed to be over the weight of depression, but here I'm under it. I'm designed to be over stress, but here I'm under it. And when we can see that, and we can begin to cross the dots of the things that are true, then we can begin to change our position from under to over. And everybody would rather be over instead of under, right? Have you rather be on top of your car instead of under your car? Makes sense to me. So watch this right here. Verse 24, which things are an allegory, for these are the two covenants, one from Mount Sinai, which it genders to bondage, one from Mount Sinai, which genders to what? Bondage. Bondage is being under the elements, being under Mount Sinai. Well, I asked the question, it's not complicated. What happened on Mount Sinai? And then I say, especially to my generation, all of y'all went to the drive-in and saw the Ten Commandments, didn't you? Well, of course, everybody did. So, what happened on Mount Sinai? What was the key thing that happened on Mount Sinai? Do y'all remember? Moses and the Ten Commandments, right? God with his finger of lightning, thou shalt not, thou shalt not. And what does it say right here? He said, if you live that way, under thou shalt not, look what he says it is. Verse 24, which things are an allegory? These are the two covenants. One is from Mount Sinai, which does what? What does it say? It brings bondage. Brings you under slavery. I don't know if that gets you with it. It brings you under slavery. What is that? If you try to do the thou shalt nots, you're going to become a slave to that and under the bondage of that. That will be a weight upon you. It can't be done. It's not intended to be done. Okay. Those things are intended to be worked out within the body, not by you doing something with your body. Okay. Which things are an allegory? For these are the two covenants. And these two covenants is not an Old Testament covenant and a New Testament covenant. I know that's new to just about the ear of everybody, but there are no Old Testament covenant and New Testament covenant. Old Testament and the New Testament is the compilation of this book we call the Bible. There was no Old Testament and New Testament. You had scrolls that were Hebrew scrolls, that were mixed with Hindu scrolls, and that were mixed with Greek writings. But there were never an Old Testament and New Testament. There were two covenants. There was a covenant with the physical flesh, which was a covenant that put the physical body in a world of contrast, a world of cold and hot, a world of health and sickness, a world of up and down, a world of what we call good and evil. You were put in that by being in a physical body. You are an eternal creature, spirit/soul, that's in a physical body that's under bondage. But your spirit soul has to agree to come into this physical body, or the physical body don't have life. It's just a cadaver. And being a cadaver, it can have all of the organs that you got and have not 1 ounce of life in you. Period. It can have lungs, it can have heart, it can have kidneys, bladder, it can have all of the organs, which all of those organs are represented by certain characters in the Old Testament to build the temple. And when we realize that, we begin to realize we have a part to play in this. We being, when I say we, I'm saying I. When I'm talking about me, I'm talking about my spirit, my soul, and my body. And when I begin to take my spirit, my soul, and my body and allow them, stir them to waking up, the waking up is them beginning to open the mind and see who I really am. I'm a divine creature in a physical body. You are too. When we recognize that, we realize, look, I was born in a world that seems to be bondage. But I've been designed to live above the world or over this bondage and not be submitted or not be a slave to the bondage.
Well, that keeps coming back to what we mentioned several weeks in a row now. Revelation, kings and priests.
Yeah.
Natural and spiritual. First Peter calls us a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a chosen generation. He still puts that royal and that priesthood together. You have the authority. We all have the authority in the physical body, in this physical realm, through the spiritual.
Yes.
We have the authority in both.
Amen. We have the authority in both realms. Okay, I don't want to, I want to spend time there, but I need to establish certain truths. I want us to understand certain things, and once we understand these things, once we cross these T's and dot these I's, once we begin to put the pieces of the puzzle together and see clearer. Because right now, many times we don't see clearly. Why? Because we're under the bondage of this and we're asking why. I know y'all have never sung that song. Why me, Lord? What did I ever do? And just saying, whining, crying, all that kind of stuff that we do. Let me read you something. Carlos Soares, this is my guru right here. Carlos Soares, he is the guru of Hebrew, ancient Hebrew. Now this book comes in many different colors. Actually, the front of this book has a foreword by Greg Braden. So if you happen to buy this book, and I don't recommend anybody buy this book necessarily. Now, I think it's one of the most phenomenal books in print. I do, along with The Lost Life, anything Alvin Boyd Kuhn wrote. If you can get anything Alvin Boyd Kuhn wrote, you have a treasure. You have a piece of gold. I'm talking real gold. But this book requires, number one, deep research. And as a matter of fact, if you read this book, the first thing he's going to tell you is going to have to memorize the Hebrew alphabet. And I don't know a lot of people that's up to, why do I want to memorize the Hebrew alphabet? Well, this book would tell you why. But that's how technical this book is. So I don't necessarily say that it's a good idea for you to buy it, unless you wanted to do a lot of research. If you want to do a lot of research, then go get it. I mean, it's worth it. It's because it's a jewel in my understanding. We come to realize, I'm reading from his introduction right here, and this is not the one that's done by Greg Braden. The one that's done by Greg Braden really puts this book in a high esteem also. But for those of you who are familiar with Greg Braden, we come to realize that the problem of conveying the unknown, how can the unknown be conveyed? How can I tell you about the unknown? How can I tell you about something you ain't got a clue about it? And it's difficult. It's difficult. You have to start establishing certain bases. Do you understand the word spirit, ruach? That word means unknown. What is that? Well, Jesus describes it this way. He said, well, can you see the tree moving? Can you see that tree going back and forth? Yeah. Well, he said, what's moving it? The unknown. What is the unknown? It's that you can't see. Well, if I can't see it, how am I going to know it? I'm going to know it by seeing that tree's moving. Something has to move that tree. And that was Jesus' analogy. That's Jesus' allegory of the unknown. It's something that's unseen. So listen to this. He said, we come to realize that the problem of conveying the unknown could only be solved if it were possible to project the common essence of everything which is in the universe as a whole. W-H-O-L-E. As something one complete. We can project everything that's out there as one whole, one complete, including, as a whole, including, of course, listen to this, man. That means that you are in it. Therefore, you are of it. That would include, of course, man, because essence, God, source, universe, power, is one. God. See, it's all one. You're not separate from it. I say this, I say, there ain't no God without you. There ain't no you without God. That's so difficult for us to hear because we've been dumbed down to see God anthropomorphically. Why? Because we have attributed to this essence, this power, God, we have attributed human attributes. Yes, we have. We have even allowed them to take a marvelous book like this and apply human attributes to this one essence, this one source. The only thing the essence, the source knows is love. It doesn't know anything outside that. It doesn't know hatred. It doesn't know jealousy. It doesn't know bondage. It doesn't know all of these physical judgment. It doesn't know that. But yet that's one of the key elements that religion has given us to attribute to it. That it is the judge of all judges. It sits up on a throne judging you. We're taught that. We believe that. That's the worst thing. We believe that. There is no judge sitting out there judging you, period.
Well, again, if you want to take that book literal, like so many do, then 1 John 4, 7 and 8, us charismatics actually have a course about it. He that loveth not, knoweth not God, for God is love.
Yeah.
There's your condemnation and judgment kicked right in the ass.
Well, Jesus in his so-called Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes, Matthew 5, 6, and 7, Jesus said, why are you trying to get the splinter out of somebody else's eye when you've got a huge log in your own? And he goes right on to say, judge not, lest you get judged yourself. Because whatever you judge somebody, you judged yourself there. Wow! Does that come back and slap us in the face? Do you not think that's true for God? You see, we have put God in a place, in a pedestal where God can do anything. He can kill, He can murder, He can steal, and He goes up there to those 10 things, and those are 10 things He said don't do, but I can. Now, is that not the epitome of stupidity for us to believe that God can do it, but we can't? That's like I remember telling my daddy, well, you smoke, why are you going to give me a whipping for me sneaking and smoking? Hello? What's good for the, what is it to say?
Good for the goose.
Good for the goose. Okay, wow. Okay, let me read on here. Let me see if I can get on past this. Everything's a part of the one. That's the meaning that he's saying. But he said, how are we going to explain this one? Because it's unknown. That's what this book is about. That's what the Hebrew language is about. That's what Kabbalah is about. It's about explaining the unexplainable. It's about telling how to know the unknown. That's what Jesus meant when He said in John 8, you shall know the truth, and then you'll be set free. You'll be free. You'll be made free. The essence, that essence in man is, according to Kabbalistic postulates, a movement both inner and outer, which builds structures and destroys them unceasingly. It's sort of like the Hindu concept of birth, life, and death. It's like Paul uses that analogy in Romans 11. He said everything is of God, and to God, and back to God. In other words, everything is cyclical. It moves in that thing, in that whole cyclical motion of that. And then I wrote a note here on this page. That's the same thing as a page. The problem, that's why I got page, I was wanting to say problem. The problem with all religion is not religion, but the dumbing down of people by belief systems that have been produced by a priestcraft of those religious systems. The problem with these belief systems is their projection of reality. It is only found, projection of reality, in other words, the real, is only found out there. In other words, it's out there where your mansion's at. It's out there where your pot of gold is at. It's out there where your God is at. That's backwards. It's backwards. Your God is not out there. Your God is in here. And once we can reverse that and we can realize God is as much, if not more, in here, in me, as it is out there. It pervades everything. It makes everything one. That includes mankind. That's the problem. That's one of the problems that we have with religion. One of them. In other words, now hear this. Heaven is out there. God is out there. Source is out there. Essence, Spirit, and so forth. It's all out there. When in reality, when in truth, reality is out there is in here.
Yeah.
It's in here. Truth is both in and out. Truth is what we build structures and destroys structures. Destroys them at the same time. And gosh, I have a bunch of notes here I wrote under this in a book by Alvin Boyd Kuhn, which is also a phenomenal book. And the title of that book is India's True Voice. It's a critique by Alvin Boyd Kuhn. Matter of fact, I saw a guy post this on his Facebook page here, gosh, a couple of weeks or a month ago. He actually posted Alvin Boyd Kuhn's book, India's True Voice, and he made a comment under it. He said, this is the most important book I've ever read in my life. Yeah. He's been going to quite a number of my conferences. Yeah. He said to him, and I agree with him, it's a phenomenal book. It tears down a lot of things that we have been taught from the Eastern concepts of illusion, Maya, different things that we have, things that we have been taught to believe through religion. To me, it's a tremendous book. And so I just wrote a bunch of things under here about that book, but I don't have that book, so I can't give you the things that he said in that book. All right, let me get you now. If you will go with me to the book of James. James, it's over toward the back of your Bible. If you find the book of Hebrews, it's next door to the book of Hebrews. James chapter 1. I want to write some things on the board this morning. I'd like to get to it, but I'm going to establish several things here. James chapter 1. And if you can, just listen to this. Verse 26, it says, if any man among you seem to be religious, and bridles not his own tongue, but he deceives his own heart, this man's religion's in vain. Going back, I can put the word on the board, religion. There are two ways to look at religion. You can look at religion as a belief system, which that's what we've been trained to do, and that's what most of us do. We look at religion and we call it a belief system. Well, I believe. I will promise you, you can talk to anybody about a religious concept or idea, or you can talk to anybody about this book that we call the Bible, and you will find yourself, if you'll pay attention, you'll find yourself saying, well, I believe. Well, I believe. Well, I believe. Well, it's time for us to get on past that. Forget about the things that I believe, because the things you believe, you change all the time. That's the way a belief system is. It constantly changes. But when you come to a place where you say, well, I know. When you have got down in your gut and you come to the place where I know this, it's the knowing of the truth that will set you free. It's not the believing of it. You can believe it all day long. You can have refrigerator verses of Scripture on your refrigerator all day long until you know them. Do you understand what know means? Know means to be intimate with. Knowing is what a man and a woman does when they create a child. They become very intimate. That's what knowing is, when you become that intimate with the truth, when you become that intimate with the principles of God. It's not just saying them. Saying them is cheap. Saying them is something anybody and everybody can do and say, and you can put right behind it, well, bless God, I believe this with all of my heart. And it still won't work for you. It still is the same thing. So he says that he deceives his own heart. Verse 27, pure religion. Well, what's the difference in pure religion and religion? Pure religion will carry you back prior to 325 and the Nicene Creed. Pure religion will take you back into Gnosticism. It'll take you back into Kabbalah. It'll take you back into the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs and back into the ancient Hebrew. That's what pure religion is. It binds you and ties you up so that you know that you're one with God. You know that you and God are on the same page. You don't have to believe that. That's something that you will know. You will know that. And when you know that, that will begin to set you free. Most people say this. I said it. I bet I've heard you say it. You probably have said it. I don't want to be religious. You ever said that? I've said that. I don't want to be religious. In other words, you hear what you're saying, think about it. I don't want to be religious. I don't want to be bound up and one with God. Yes, you really do. In your heart, you really do. So what do we mean when we say, I don't want to be religious? Really what we're saying is we don't want to be like those people down there. That's usually what we're saying. How you were judging. When the real truth of the matter is we really do. Because we really want to be one with God. We should at least. We should be wanting that at least. John 18, real quickly. Follow that over with me over there. John chapter 18, look at verse 38. Pilate said to Jesus, what is truth? That's a good question. I like that. What is truth? John chapter 8. Just go back over 10 chapters to John chapter 8. And verse 32. John chapter 8, verse 32. Pilate said to Jesus, what is truth? Jesus said, John 8:32, and you shall know. That word know is gnosko. I've said that many, many times. It's gnosko from the Greek. And that word from the Greek means something that is intuitive, something that's within you, something that's of your gut, something that's deep, something that you have. It's not something you've been taught to believe. You shall know the truth, and the truth will make you free. That's what the truth is designed to be. The truth is designed to be that makes you free. All right, then now I want you to go with me to the book of Proverbs, chapter 8. The book of Proverbs, chapter 8. And I want to put several things on the board right here. And I want to, I think all of us are familiar with a phrase that's said and used a lot. How many of you remember the phrase, 3 in 1? Y'all remember that phrase? Generally, that phrase comes from religion. Now, I remember when I had my conversion experience, I was 25, 26, 27, right in that age bracket, I'm not sure, mid-20s. That really confused me. That really did confuse me. And then they said, well, you need Jesus to come live in your heart. That did confuse me too. I said, how in the world is some other man will come and get inside me? And of course, I would always ask questions. That's been one of my problems or whatever all my life is I want to know, so I want to ask questions. The only way I know how to know is ask questions. So I would always ask questions, and nobody ever had an answer for those questions. Even when I did Dake's seminary course, when I did that and I studied under him, I would ask him many, many questions, and he would always get upset with my questions. And then he answered me one time. He said, "Lynn, you're not even supposed to know that until you get to heaven." My answer back to him was, "I want to know it now. I don't want to wait till then." And of course, his answer back was da-da-da-da-da. Tom Fuller, you asked too many questions. 3 and 1. That is a concept that's not hard to understand when we begin to see the principle of it. And the only way we can see the principle of it is to do it like this. And I'll try to show you the principle of this by drawing that. That is, that's the most ancient symbol that there is. The cross in a circle. The cross in a circle is the most, can you see that, Kirby, in that color? Is that okay?
Yep.
The cross in a circle is one of the most ancient symbols and signs that you can find anywhere. It way predates Christianity. The cross is not something that was invented with Christianity when Jesus was supposedly hung on a cross. It was a symbol of every human being is hung on the cross of matter. And the word matter, the word mother, the word material, and the word water are all the same word. They're used by different characters. The character of Moses always represented water. Moses was, so the character of Moses represents the human body. Water always is referring to materiality. It's always referring to you and me. And you and me got here through our mother, water. That's how we got here. And now they're beginning to say if we squeeze you out, you're about 98% liquid, water mass. So, used to say 80, 85. Now they're saying 95 or more. They probably wind up saying you're just all water. You're just all every bit water. So, the circle, which is the universe, which this is also the symbol of the astrological chart and everything you get. And so the way I wanted to show you 3 and 1. This is 1, period. I don't care how you cut it and divide it and piece it up. You can have this as Jesus and the 12 apostles. You can have it as Israel and his 12 tribes. You can have any way you want to cut it. You can actually go into ancient Egypt and get it the same way. But here's how you get it when you do 3 and 1. I want to show you. This is fire. This is what this symbol is. All starts with fire. You have to get that. What is fire? The sun. God is a consuming fire. Hebrews chapter 11. Matter of fact, it tells you in Psalms 84, God is the sun. That's exactly what it says. When it says God is light, the word light is pur, which actually can mean fire. When you enroll in Revelations chapter 20, when you were thrown into the lake of fire comes from the Greek word pur, P-U-R, which actually means pure, P-U-R-E. You were thrown into the lake of purity. They always told you that was hell. It is not. It's God. God is where you are purified. In other words, you're purified to be your pure self. So fire, it has to start with fire. That's Aries. That's the ram. That's what it always means. Fire. The next one is Taurus, which is the earth. The next one is Gemini, the twins, which is air. And the next one is Cancer, the lungs, which is water. And analogically, you can take every one of those, break them down into the attributes of the physical body, and they will all flow perfectly. This is also called Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey in Hebrew, which equals the Lord. Okay? Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey, that it equals, that's what's called the Lord. It's not really a word, it's a combination of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen. That's what it's a product. All of those products, gases we can call them, all of those are earthbound. They're material. They are part of this physical system that you are brought under. You're here. You're here in this dimension where it's cold and hot, period. There's also sickness and disease. How can I live above disease? How can I live above sickness? You can. It's been done. People do it all the time. One of the things that you do is you begin to pay attention to your body, to its needs, to what you do to it. Like Rochelle, she's gung-ho in the oils. Different people gung-ho in different things. Those things are beginning to rise again in the earth. The CBD oil, the hemp oil, all of this stuff is beginning to... These are things that God gave us the earth for what? Our health and our well-being. Why? Because He put us in a dimension where we're under bondage. He put us in this dimension where we're designed to be above it, but we live most of our life under it. If we were to segment ourselves one at a time, put ourselves in a closet, we got honest with ourselves in the closet, we began to talk to ourselves about all of the things that's going on in our life, we could begin to say, wow, the reason this is going on is because of this. The reason this is going on is because of this. Do you want to change it? Yes, I want to change it. Can you change it? No. Why can't you change it? I tried. It just didn't work out. You be telling me why you change it? Why you won't change it? Because you don't want to. That's the bottom line. Because for some reason you get gratification out of it. For some reason it serves you, you think. So we live that way. We live under bondage. Well, I can take these 4 things and I can say, look here, this is one. And I can do the same thing right here. Watch this. It starts all over. Leo, what does Leo represent? Fire. Virgo, what does Virgo represent? Earth. Libra, what does Libra represent? The air. And Sagittarius, what does it represent? Water. 2. Then I can do the same thing here again. And it's the same thing over again. There's 3 segments of 4 that gives you 12. The 12 astrological wheels, the 12 apostles, the 12 tribes, etc., etc., etc. The 12 divisions of the Lord, or the 3 divisions of the Lord, or the 3 in 1. All 3 of these divisions is in this one whole. And they make up a part of who you are. And so that's how this tree, this is called the tree of life. The tree of life in Kabbalah. Starts out with this. This is the Keter. This is the crown. This is what we would call God, the Father. It goes to Bina. To Chokmah. Goes from Keter to Chokmah. Chokmah is the spirit, or in the natural world, it refers to the male. And this is Chokmah, and this is Bina. This refers to the female. And it's from the male and female principle. Or in other words, I can say it like this. This is the principle of plus, and this is the principle of negative. I could say this is the principle of good, and this is the principle of evil. Evil not in the sense of what religion has taught us, because you see, does that mean that all the women are evil? According to religion they are. It's them that brought us here. It's them that got us in this mess, by God. Huh? Yeah, whose fault is it? There's a passage of Scripture I'll show you next week in the book of Revelations that will totally debunk Genesis chapter 6 if you look at it historically and if you look at it literally. Genesis chapter 6, God creates this guy, or this guy comes on the scene, and God said He found grace in the sight of Noah because Noah walked with God. That's exactly how it says it. In other words, Noah was upright. He was a good man. He walked with God. And yet there's a place over here in Romans that Paul says that everybody hadn't sinned according to the sin of Adam and Eve. That's what Paul said. He said, in other words, everybody didn't miss the mark. But you know what God said? I'm going to kill them all. I'm going to destroy everybody. I'm going to, and then you have to ask, you going to kill the animals too? What did they do? I mean, why are you going to kill all the animals? They didn't do anything. Y'all look at me like, oh God. Why are you God? You see, God's mad now. God got mad. Why did God get mad? God got mad, listen, God got mad because He didn't know what in the world y'all was going to do. And so then when the woman started having sex with these angels, that really made God mad. And God said, wait a minute, I didn't design it. It wasn't supposed to work out that way because they go to having sex, now they got giants in the land. See, they don't any of that make sense. Why? Because it's not literal. It's not historical. It didn't happen. When we start looking at it in Hebrew, we're like, whoa, it's something going on inside me. Have I got any giants in me? Yes. Some big ones. You better look at them. Because some of them you say you want to and you really don't want to. Why? Because it seems too big to tackle. You tried to tackle it before and it just whooped you good, didn't it? Hello. Yeah, I did. Looking in the mirror, I'm talking. Y'all talking to me. Well, I'm going to be a David. There's a David somewhere inside me. There's a warrior inside me that's got a smooth, slick river rock. You remember Brother Dave Garner? His smooth, slick. Y'all don't remember Brother Dave Garner? Brother Dave Garner, he had, what was his name? He rode his motorcycle and he put his girlfriend on the back of it. What was her name? And they going down the road and she got cold. And he said, well, I can fix that up. So he took his coat on and he put it on her backwards and zipped it up, put her on the back, and they went up this mountain and he just zooing and going around the curve, and somebody comes on his side and he runs off the road and had her crash and a wreck. And he said, well, Susie was fine until somebody turned her neck around backwards. That's a joke. Brother Dave going, it's real funny. Everybody laughs. Oh, anyway, I hope I don't have to explain that. Well, you see, out of fire, out of God naturally produces positive and negative. The positive and negative, good and evil, you're brought under it. You're not designed to live under it, you're designed to live above it. You're designed by God to have the power over it. Hello. But nevertheless, this is how the Kabbalistic tree looks like. That unfolds into this. This unfolds into this. And this grounds you. And this has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I got one too many down here. I've got my stick now. That's two. Here we go. I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You have 10. These are called sephirots in Kabbalah. 10 sephirots. These are physical things that you can attribute to the physicality of this world. There are that's the stick man with a whole heart. He has a whole heart. That's the stick man with a whole heart. This is the stick man. And he's designed to be this way. This refers to the earth. So this is where you are grounded. This is called grounding. This is the earth. This is Malkut. It's the world of manifestation. And you have, look at this, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 endocrine glands build the physical body in the womb of your mama. On the Kabbalistic tree, you have the earth, or Malkut, which is the kingdom. This is where it's manifest. And then you have the stick man. All of this in this 3-in-1 God is right here between your eyes, in your brain, in your head. And this is where it's all worked out. However, now that's the physical part. Now I want to show you the part that's not seen. Because you remember in Carlos Suarez, he says that it's the unseen. to where all of this essence is made manifest in the seed world. So let me show you something right here. This is also a Sephiroth right here, but it's not seen. So therefore it's not ever displayed, but it's there. And in Hebrew, this one is called D-A-A-T-H, De'at. And what the word De'at means, it means the same thing as in the book of Revelation, Apocalypse. Apocalypse is the revelation of the apocalypse of Jesus, which means the unveiling of the human being. That's the book of Revelation is a Kabbalistic book. It's not a historical book. It's not events that are prophetic that happen using. That's how religion taught you to use prophecy. Prophecy was not something that tells the future. Prophecy was something that looks into the present and determines by the present what's happening right now. Do you understand that? In other words, you can look at everything going on right now and you can come up with an analysis of what's going on right now. That's what prophecy is. Prophecy don't have anything to do with foretelling the future. That's what they told us in religion. Prophecy was a foretell. So everybody's always wanting to tell you what's going to happen tomorrow. Well, look at Scripture. It don't tell you what's going to happen tomorrow. It don't even tell you anything. It says don't even worry about tomorrow. Don't put your eggs in a basket on tomorrow. All this stuff is just the dish is just free, so it doesn't cost you. De'at's the key right here. And we don't see because we don't know it. Actually, it means that which is a window, a door into the unknown. And how does it come to you? Well, I can tell you many ways it comes to you. It comes to you through fasting. It comes to you through meditation, by taking time in the morning to gaze into the sun, to look into the sun. And it comes to you when you can put your mind at ease and rest and try not to think. Just try to let your mind be open. That's what this is, De'at. It just simply means it's an open door to knowledge. And that knowledge is essential. That's essential. Go with me to the book of Proverbs. Proverbs chapter, oh goodness. Go with me to Proverbs chapter 1. Proverbs chapter 1. Just find Psalms, and it's right next door to the book of Psalms. Proverbs chapter 1. Everybody find that? Proverbs chapter 1. Look at verse, let's start with verse 7. The fear of the Lord. And you know that they shouldn't have put that fear because people will be afraid of God. They should have just put respect. The reverence. To respect. To reverence something. You're not afraid of something you respect or you revere, are you? No, you're not. You're not. If you respect it, you revere it. You're not afraid of it. Like if we understood a lion, everybody, oh, we're afraid of it. No, if we understood a lion, we would respect it. We would realize I need to give him his distance. He's good over there, and I'm good over here. So we need to, and there's things that we need to respect. Well, if we could understand, there should be a respect in the good and evil that we are brought under. That we're placed in a world of this dimension of cold and hot, sickness and health. We're placed here. But we have to learn. We have to awaken the most vital principle that's in us. The most vital principle that's in us is your soul/spirit. The only reason that we should come together, and we should come together, but the only reason we should come together is to gain knowledge. That's what De'at means. To gain knowledge is to begin to know the unknown. And when we begin to know the unknown and we get knowledge, then we begin to be the master of our ship. And we can control it in the midst of storm. Because storms come. Period. They're promised to come. They're guaranteed to come. So verse 7, the respect of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. That word knowledge is deot. But fools despise wisdom and understanding. Because you see, if you get deot, you get knowledge. What you gain from knowledge is wisdom and understanding. Wisdom is chokma, which is masculine. Understanding is mother, feminine, which is bina. And if you will look at that, that carries over into the characteristics of a man and a woman. Generally, a man should have wisdom, and generally, always, a woman does have understanding. Most all the time, the woman, the mother, will understand her children way before the daddy will. Hey, I can't figure them out, bless God. Why? Because he's always thinking from one side of his brain. He doesn't think from the other side. And our society teaches us that. Religion trains us that. Most men don't have a clue how to think from the feminine side and understand the situation. Well, deot, that's what that means. Look at chapter 2 and verse 5. Then you shall understand the respect of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. Deot, there it is, the knowledge of God. Look at same chapter, chapter 2, look at verse 10. When wisdom entereth into your heart, and knowledge is pleasant unto your soul, because you see, knowledge is always pleasant to your soul, because it's your soul that deposited itself in the prison of your physical body. So your physical body actually becomes the tomb, T-O-M-B, the tomb of the spirit and the soul, because the soul and spirit yielded itself to come into the physical body. In other words, it surrendered itself to your physical body, still having all power available in it. Can you hear that? In other words, all power is available within you if you and I will learn how to tap into it and wake up. And how do you do it? You do it through your spirit and your soul. And it's your spirit and your soul that's eternal, and they long to be free from the prison of the physical body so they can enjoy the other extremes of the natural world. Right now, they're only enjoying the extremes of the addictions of the world that we put on them. So, verse 10, when wisdom entereth into your heart, and knowledge is pleasant unto your soul, discretion shall preserve thee, and understanding shall keep you. Hallelujah. So that's what happens when we gain knowledge. Knowledge is one of the key things. With everything that you get knowledge. That's the main thing. We can get knowledge. That's what we are on a quest here for. That's what my life is based on. Knowledge. I want to know. I want to know so that I can free myself from the bondage I'm under, but I want to know so that I can teach my children how to be free from bondage, how to be free from the things. He wants to be free too. How to be free from the elements of the world. Do you understand when it's really cold outside and the temperature's down in the 20s and the teens here? Do you understand the way to be free from that cold is to go in the house where it's warm, or to put you on a coat and clothe yourself if you're going to be out there? But to go out there and to be dressed in your short pants and your short sleeve shirts in the wintertime, that's not real smart. People do it, we do it all the time, but it's not necessarily smart. You can, you know what, you can put yourself under the bondage of certain elements that you don't have to be. I mean, that's just things that we can do. There are many things that we can do. I wanted to read you something here from this book that we've talked about earlier, The Lost Light. I write in these books. I write as much in these books. I mean, I write as much in them as he writes in them, because they provoke me. They stir me to think, because my heart's quest is to find the truth, number one, so that I can be set free myself. But number two, and I think I live more for this purpose, I want to stay young and vital as long as I can for this purpose. More than anything, I want to see my 3 daughters and my 10 grandbabies and my future great-grandbabies, I want them to know this truth. And I want them to see that their papa knew it. And that he had something that would really help them live their life in a better way. Because I've lived under the bondages of this world, not blaming it on anybody. It ain't nobody's fault. See, nobody did anything wrong. We have to go back to that religious thing we're trying to get free from that said she did it wrong. She brought it all down on us. We were supermen, superwomen. We were designed, we're just going to live forever. That's not true. That's a story they told you. No, you were designed to live in this world cyclically. Now, I will admit, you're designed to live in this world in health and strength and vigor. Maybe for several hundred years or longer. But nevertheless, you're designed to live in this cyclical place so that you can live and finally say, look, I've run my course. I've finished my race. I'm ready to lay this body down. I'm ready to take off this suit and go get me another one. I ain't there yet. I don't want to be there for a long time. I want to see my family. And that includes y'all, my family. That's not just the progeny that I have from my children and grandchildren, etc., etc. That's the people that God has put me in contact with. If I'm to be a teacher, I don't want to just put stuff on the board. I want to be a living example of that. I want to be something that's a witness to that. And so, these people, I do read quite a bit. Maybe I'm addicted to it. I like it. I love it. I want me some more of it. So this is Alvin Boyd Kuhn. Again, this book was mentioned by the University of Ohio. The dean of the University of Ohio put in print that he put it. This is in print. You can actually get this, a copy of this. He said that this is the most important document that's ever been put in the English language.
Hallelujah.
That's a pretty high accolade for one book. The most important document ever put in the English language. Period. That includes every book that's written. And he said that about this particular book. So, using this as an example, in other words, the astrological wheel, the 3-in-1, if you can understand that, the 12-in-1, if you can understand that, the cross of matter, if you can understand that, all of those are things that we look at. Why are we looking at? We're trying to come to a knowledge, a dayah, of the unseen, to see how the unseen works in the seen, to see how the invisible works in the visible, because they would not be a visible unless there was an invisible. And there will not be an invisible without a visible. They are one and the same. And I know I say that, I know people say, oh, God can be alone all by himself. Well, if God's alone all by himself, there ain't nothing. And if that's what you want to believe, then that's nothingness does not mean nothing. Nothingness means everything. That's a conundrum, and I realize that. It's very... Using astrology, using the astrological basis for portraying cosmic truth, that's what we're talking about. What is truth? The ancient localized the birth of the natural man in the zodiacal house of Virgo. In the house of Virgo, the Virgin. Why did it do that? Because you see, one of the things that's predominant in the house of Virgo is wheat. That's one of the decans. And so Virgo actually refers to wheat. And this month is when the harvest of wheat, pretty much across the globe, is harvested. And so we always think of it as Jesus' mother, Virgo, the virgin. It's not referring to a virgin, it's referring to a maiden. A woman, a maiden, is... You won't find a virgin in Scripture, folks. You know, the religion told you it was a virgin that gave birth to the only begotten Son. That's a lie. It don't ever say that. Even the story, they draw that story from the book of Isaiah, and there's not a virgin ever listed in the book of Isaiah. It's referred to as a maiden. The Hebrew and the Greek both call it a maiden. Why is it talking about a maiden? A maiden is a woman that gives birth to a child. She could have already had 12 children, and she's still called a maiden. Why? Because she can give birth to children. I don't even know why I told you all that. But there ain't no virgin. And there ain't no only begotten son. There is a maiden. That's a part of this astrological motif. That's a part of this allegorical teaching, is to understand that. And this is referring to wheat. Wheat refers to what? Bread. Well, you harvest the wheat in September, in July, September. This is referred to the grapes. So you have the wheat, that's the bread. You have the grapes, that's the wine. Jesus at the Last Supper, what's the Last Supper? It's when the sun begins to go down in the evening, or when the fall begins to take place and we go into winter. That's the last meal, the bread and the wine. That's what these two, Virgo and Libra, that's what those signs refer to. So when we're talking about them in the astrological or in the biblical reference, that's what they're referring to. Those. Anyway, you always go parallel. No matter where you're at, you go parallel. And what do I mean by parallel? Just exactly this. Virgo. Well, if I want to know about Virgo, how am I going to find out? I go parallel to Virgo. And what is this? This is called the fishes. Pisces. So if I want to know about Virgo, I go to Pisces. Well, Virgo's the virgin of Jesus, the virgin mother that gives birth to who? Jesus, Pisces, the sign of the fish. Is that not correct? Well, see, Lynn, I tell you, I've shown you this one many times, because I am born right here on this cuff. This is between, this is February the 19th, and so you always have to take, these are, each one of the astrological signs are divided up into 30 degrees, period. No matter how big the sign is. Like, for instance, the sign of Virgo is a very huge sign, so a lot of Virgo goes down into Libra, and part of it goes up here into Leo. So don't let that confuse you. This is a 30-degree sign, just like any of the rest of them. So if you want to know, if I want to know what all the emphasis of me, I have to go 15 degrees. I'm born on the 19th. So I have to go 15 degrees this way and 15 degrees this way, and go right across from it, and I would come to Leo and Virgo, and I would realize that if I want to know about myself, I've got to know about the last 15 degrees of Leo and the first 15 degrees of Virgo, or I've got to know about the last 15 degrees of Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, right? I have to know the last of Aquarius and Pisces. Do you see what I'm saying? Is that confusing to you, or does that make sense to you? So that you explain it by its opposite. So if I'm taking it my cross is just like this. You know, you see me explain this. Your cross. Jesus said for you to take up your cross. So you take your birthday. This is my cross right here. That's my cross. Any way you cut it, that's my cross. So I have to take that up. That makes up the character of who I am. Makes up the character of who you are. You're branded with this. You're sealed with this. God imprinted you with this. So when we come to the place where we can know, we want to know the unknown. We know it through Dayot. How do I get Dayot? I open my mind. I get out of all of the oppression, all of the stress, the things that weigh me down. I open my mind, and boom, it'll come. It'll come to you. It's free. It just comes to you. And what you do with it then that's your business. That belongs to you, that's your part. Okay, well, I'm just gonna quit right there. I had a bunch more I wanted to read, but I was gonna, it's too much. Too much. Wow. Gosh, I had stuff here I wanted to read to you. Stuff that I wrote, that's just too much. Okay, we'll dig in here some more.